Welcome, everyone. Welcome to today's session. Good morning, good afternoon. Today, we have a special topic like every other week, and this topic is closer to XPs and my heart because we've been enthusiasts to talk about Tezos, and we do talk about this chain. And today, we're going to be covering everything Tezos. So, the title of today's talk is The Eco Artist Clean NFTs on the Tezos blockchain. We're going to get into this and we're going to cover what we mean by clean NFTs and everything that is to follow. I'm Han City. I'm an artist. I also talk about Web3. I also like to build stuff on Web3. This is my Tezos collection. Just a few things that I collected. It's cheaper to collect on Tezos, so I'm more active in supporting fellow artists and buying the things that I like because it's much more affordable. And yeah, that's me.
Hi everyone, my name is XP. I'm also an artist and a huge Tezos enthusiast, just like Han City. These are just three of my pieces that are collected. Like he said, it's a lot easier to collect on Tezos. So when I first discovered Tezos and collecting on Tezos, probably went a bit crazy and bought, I don't know, lots and lots of great art that's available there. So that's part of the reason why I really like Tezos. Can't wait to get into it.
Great. So we're gonna start basically from a point of why is Tezos relevant? Like why should anyone care about Tezos? Because we all know that most of the NFTs and everything related to NFTs happen on Ethereum, and now there are some alternative chains such as Solana, Cardano, and Luna have started to gain traction. But yeah, there are other chains other than Tezos that uses the blockchain for smart contracts and NFT. So why is Tezos relevant? So firstly, the first reason is because it's considered a clean blockchain. We'll get into it on why it's considered clean. Right now, what we need to know is that it uses significantly less energy to operate the whole blockchain, not just for NFTs, but the whole blockchain takes significantly less energy in comparison to Ethereum and in comparison to Bitcoin. And although Tezos is not the only blockchain that uses this technology that we're gonna get into to achieve these results, but Tezos has been there for a while now, and that is why it has uniquely positioned itself to use that technology and be considered clean. And that is why it is desirable by brands and big corporations that are also careful about their environmental footprint. So if let's say any corporation would like to do something, has to do something with smart contracts or NFTs, and they also care about the fact that they do not need to harm the environment, whether they really care about it or they would like to position it, either way, they're gonna choose Tezos as their blockchain of choice for NFTs as compared to Ethereum. So yeah, XP can talk about how some organizations are already here.
Yeah, as Hansi said, it's quite important as well, especially obviously because we want to kind of protect our environment. That is very important, as well as we can see. I mean, there's no hiding how much hate NFTs get at the moment from people around the world, and part of the reason why is because of its environmental impact, which there's a way of kind of hedging against that with the Tezos. So some of the brands that have already come on board on Tezos are big game company Ubisoft. We got Sports Illustrated came on recently through a platform called One Of, as well as Warner Music Group, which came on very recently through One Of platform as well, which is pretty huge. Um, and there are potentially loads more brands that are going to come, hopefully, and partly due to the reason of being an environmentally friendly, well established blockchain that is already working and developing every day. So these are some of the brands. There's more coming, I'm sure. and the future of Tezos looks quite bright.
Absolutely. And there are a few celebrity launches that has been happening on Tezos for a while now. Two notable names are firstly Doja Cat and Linkin Park's Mike Shinoda. Both of them are households name and they kind of choose Tezos over Ethereum. So that's also few names to name a few.
Yeah,
So yeah,
just to add to that as well, there are some artists and not just musicians, but even like artists and musicians that will only use something that's environmentally friendly. So they won't even touch Ethereum and whatnot. So they'll find an alternative, and that makes them kind of exclusive as well to Tezos in a way.
absolutely. So how does Tezos achieve to be clean? So we're gonna not gonna like go really into technical details, but a major difference is because it works and operates on something called proof of stake, and Ethereum and blockchain and Bitcoin works on proof of ownership. So both consensus are used to make blockchain what it is today. And what happens generally in proof of ownership is that there are miners sitting all around the world. And once there is a transaction request, all of them are sent to solve a mathematical problem. And whoever solves it first gets to process it, gets to mine it, gets to like get the reward and everything. And due to this, due to the competition, due to the mathematical problem, people need higher technical gear. People use a lot of GUI power to get the first thing, to get the first chance at making it. And that makes proof of ownership as a technical standpoint something that consumes a lot of energy. And that is why the argument against blockchain as a whole, that they operate in a manner that is not friendly to the environment. Of course, there can be arguments on how the current technologies work and how against them Bitcoin works or Ethereum works. But there's no doubt in knowing that proof of ownership does utilize a lot of energy. So proof of stake is an alternative system that Solana uses proof of stake. Uh, Tezos uses proof of stake. Every new technology that comes in, they use proof of stake. Ethereum is going to move to proof of stake through E 2.0, if you have heard the term. But Tezos has been using proof of stake for a while. And it works in a way that it, instead of miners, it uses validators that are people who have a certain portion of the coin and they stake it, and in return they get to validate the transactions instead of the miners. And since it's not a mathematical problem and it's being distributed amongst the people who have staked it, it takes significantly less energy to to think about the technology from the high level. And this is how it's cheaper, because it does not go through the complexity of proof of ownership. It's also faster because it's being distributed amongst other everyone else. And yeah, also yeah, in the comments, Matic, which is the layer two for Ethereum, which is one layer down and it's operate on top of Ethereum, is also proof of stake. That is why Matic is generally cheaper, and that is why the other session we were able to mint for free on Matic, because it's proof of stake. So we have to think about this in those terms, and that is why Tezos is cleaner. Is Tezos exclusive to clean NFT? Not really. Every technology that uses proof of stake is kind of, will be less consumed. But since Tezos has been there for a while and they have very little stuff such as baking that actually helps them be even more energy efficient, and that is why it has been positioned this way, apart from every other NFT blockchain that is being used.
Yeah, when minting as well on Tezos, it's a lot less stressful. When you mint on Ethereum, if it costs you somewhere between £40 to like, it could cost you between 200, even like £300 just to mint something, and you're waiting for it to mint, and your life basically flashes before your eyes while you're waiting because it's so stressful. And then if it fails, you just lost that money, which is just as stressful as well. But with Tezos, like when I first started on Tezos, I had like 4 transactions when trying to mint fail, and it only cost me a total of like, I don't know, $1 maybe, which I was okay with. I mean, sure, it was still not nice to lose that money, but it only cost $1. And then I wasn't as stressed out. I found out what the issue was, and I managed to do it. So it's actually a lot less stressful to use Tezos as well, in my opinion.
And also, one more important thing that we absolutely adore about Tezos is that it has an ethos for a decentralized network. Of course, every blockchain technology starts from a fundamental need for decentralization, but that also does not stop a lot of brands or companies or organizations that are operating in the Web3 space to choose to be more centralized. A key example is OpenSea. OpenSea might be the biggest marketplace on the Ethereum network for NFTs, but it is also fairly centralized. Its money backing comes from a significant centralized point. They're willing to block things, block collections because they disagree with the idea behind these collections. They block accounts, they can block all of these things, and they actively do it. You can be on OpenSea and your collection can get blocked, and it can be go in front of other people. At least on the OpenSea UI, they can't really block your NFT, but they can definitely block it from coming in front of the people. So Tezos as a chain has an ethos where every builder on there knows about the fact that they need to strive for more decentralization, whether it's a marketplace or Tezos as a blockchain itself. You can do a lot while holding your Tezos coins than in comparison to other blockchains. You can vote, you can do a lot of things, and the same things reflect in the marketplaces as well. As an example, as a very basic example, object only lets you mint on your own contract. So it does not have a storefront contract. It only lets you mint on your own contract. And this goes on to other thing as well. If you go to object, you can find NFTs from all marketplaces. It shows up from everywhere because it's just an aggregator, sort of like it also acts an aggregator. So we have a very big ethos for decentralization that you'd see if you become a part of the ecosystem.
Yeah, so Tezos, which was founded in 2018, which is a long time, for a blockchain anyway. And it's always had that decentralized mindset from the start and has slowly kind of over time worked towards being fully decentralized, which hopefully one day will be completely, because even the Tezos tokens themselves work as DAO tokens. Um, so yeah, it's quite exciting to see the future of Tezos as well in terms of how it will work as a fully proof of stake decentralized blockchain. So some of the platforms on Tezos right now are one of the biggest ones was Hicketnock, which has lost a bit of traction at the moment, but is the like OG first Tezos platform with a lot of great art that can be found there. There's Object that we're going to dive into in a bit ourselves, quite on the practical side of this presentation, which has become like the most popular Tezos platform at the moment, not just for art, but we're starting to see like gaming assets coming in as well from Ubisoft. Rarible is another big marketplace that usually runs on Ethereum, and now they've kind of added Tezos to it as well, which is great. And at the moment, it's kind of separate. It's within Rarible, but it's kind of feels separate. But they have said eventually it will be cross-chain. So there might be a future where you're just dealing with these NFTs and it's Tezos, it's Ethereum, it doesn't really matter. You're just, you know, on the front of it, they all just seem the same. One of is a music platform that has deep funding from uh, a lot of big musicians. And we have coming soon OpenSea, who have confirmed it for quite a while now, but they're still working on it. So that's going to be super exciting to have Tezos on OpenSea. And Async Art, which is a great platform. They have confirmed to get Tezos too. So there's a lot of platforms to choose from, which is also great.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Hicketnock itself was a revolutionary platform by itself, and a lot of people on OpenSea and on Ethereum blockchain found that due to the lack of what you can do with the blockchain, they found themselves shifting towards Tezos itself as a platform. If we get time later on, we can show you some NFTs that you'd know how innovative they are with programming and coding behind them and the ideas behind them. And that's why a lot of big artists today they're one of the biggest artists in the Ethereum blockchain have a very soft spot for Tezos, and they actively even drop uh, stuff on Tezos, even though they sell out quickly on Ethereum itself. And this has a system. Object itself, the funny thing about Object is that Hickeknak actually called NFTs Object on their platforms. And that is what inspired the name for objkt.com itself. So that's one fact that a lot of people do not know.
Yeah, in terms of the artists as well, just to quickly mention, we have Pack, who also has made the logo for Hicket Nunk, the logo that you see that was designed by Pack. He also has two NFTs on Tezos. We have Xcopy, who has a very successful NFT on Tezos. And Thank You X is coming soon as well, which is also quite exciting. So,
Right. So we're moving towards the practical implementation, and what we're going to be doing today is not exactly what we did last time. Last time we spent a lot of time on making the MetaMask account and listing NFTs. And of course, it's important to talk about that as well. But we're going to breeze through these two things. And we're going to give you the walkthrough and the resource guide, which has screenshots on how to do these things more properly. But what we want to do today is kind of navigate through these marketplaces and tell you what, where's what and how things are operating so that we kind of deep dive into it and get to know the marketplace itself. So we're going to be using Temple Wallet. I have it pre-installed in my computer, and we'll be sharing it directly, and we'll be sharing the PDF for you to make it on yourself. But yeah, we're going to breeze through these things. We're definitely going to mint it live. We're definitely going to list it live. But our entire idea would be to navigate through the marketplaces.
so right now we're going to mint something on Object, but we need something to mint. So just like last time, we're going to create a work of art together, but this time we're going to do it a little bit different. We're going to take some objects, some of your favorite objects, and we're going to turn it into an object, which is an NFT on Tezos. So I'm just going to very quickly prepare my screen for this while Hans City explains or asks for some objects on the chat, maybe.
Right. So idea is to know about or list your favorite objects. By objects, I mean purse, cup, pencil, phone. So we need some objects where you just type in the chat what your favorite objects are. I see crypto, I see water bottle. I'm gonna write cup because I'm drinking coffee and I like it. There's ice cream, the human heart. Those are very innovative entries. Smartphone, cool. So yeah, we're gonna be doing something really abstract with this.
Okay.
So yeah, the
can you see
first
my
is
screen?
I'm gonna first is crypto.
Crypto.
Yeah.
Oops, it goes straight to, there we go. Crypto images.
Okay.
We
Cup
get
of
Bitcoin.
roasting coffee. That's very
Maybe
specific, Kate, but we'll take it.
maybe Tezos would have been more appropriate, but I went for the first thing I saw.
Okay, now we have water bottle.
Water bottle.
Yeah. Toes. That's okay.
It's a little bit
Then
strange.
we have the human heart.
All right. Shall we do toes or human heart first? Let's do toes. You meant toes, right?
These are the only. Okay, so let's take toes. Cool.
Okay. I found the nicest looking toes I could find.
Then we have
Human
the
heart.
human heart. Then we have ice cream. We have ice cream, and then we have yeah.
Ice cream.
Then we have a smartphone.
Smartphone. That's an obvious one.
Yeah.
That's
And
what I
we
would have
have a refrigerator.
picked.
That's someone's favorite object.
All right. So my spelling is terrible. Luckily, Google can help with that a little bit.
And then we have a bed. And the final one is an air conditioner. I hope I haven't missed anything out.
Bed.
Oh, I've missed out cup. That's the last thing. So cup of roasting coffee. Let's take Kate's uh word. Cup of roasting coffee.
Cup of roasting coffee. Very
No,
specific.
that means wait. Yeah,
Should I get the right one?
take the avoid freshly. Yeah, take this. This seems fine.
There was one I missed, I think.
I think we covered them all.
We got them?
Yeah.
Nothing missed? Everything's fine?
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay.
So please
So,
explain yeah. So we're gonna try to do something abstract from this. Oh
yeah.
shit, there's an air conditioner if you can.
Yeah, I thought I missed one.
Yeah, there's air conditioner.
Air conditioner. That's a good one, actually. It's a good thing we didn't miss that. Keep us cool while we're doing this.
It's important.
Okay, so the air conditioner, as much as we love it, maybe it can be a little smaller. All right, so what we're going to do now is first we're going to add a little layer on top just to make things a little more interesting.
Next, can we put CEO of Bybit picture inside as well?
I think considering what we're about to do to it, maybe it's not a good idea. But that's a good suggestion. If that's somebody's favorite, that's a, that's a great one to have. So after putting a little texture on top, what I want everyone to do here is focus on your object. If you gave an object, focus on your object right now and just keep looking at your object while I do this. See what happens to your object. Can you still see it? Where will it go? What is happening to your object? It's turning into a lovely work of abstract art. I mean,
Looks
how
really
does it look?
nice. The heart meant to, got merged with toes. That's that's what I noticed.
That's all right. I think that's quite nice. I think anybody that sees this, they're going to see a little abstract painting, but when we see it, we will see toes and air conditioners and refrigerators. So that's quite interesting. All right, I think we're
Looks
ready
pretty
with this
nice.
one.
Looks really nice.
All right, I'm going to drop that to you while you carry on with the rest of the presentation.
Okay, yeah, drop it in the drive, and I've opened the drive itself. Just drop it in the folder for the eco artist while I download it. But yeah, now we're gonna go practical, friends. We're gonna get into object itself. We're gonna mint the contract, and then we're gonna hopefully mint the picture that we worked on together. So the first thing is, if you can see my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay, cool. So the first thing is we're gonna open Brave or whatever browser that you have. We have this Temple wallet. I'm gonna directly log in, but of course you would have a guide on how to download this. Very similar to MetaMask, to be honest. Every extension browser works the same way, the same processes. The super long password. Yeah, I don't need people to steal my $8. So I really need to protect them with all of my life. So we have logged in successfully uh, in the browser. Now we're going to go directly to objkt.com. So firstly, Objekt is apparently the largest NFT marketplace on Tezos, which, in terms of technicalities, technically it's true, but not true at all. We're going to get into it. But it's definitely the most user friendly. It's definitely the most considered, definitely the most chosen platform for most people now. And we're directly going to sync it. Like when we connected the wallet, now we sync it. So it's the same thing, but it's different in names. And we're just conforming the transaction or, right, so. Yeah, so we're signed in. We're here, the account is connected. Now, in order to mint, we're going to go to create, very similar to OpenSea. And now you see something called create a new token. You haven't created a collection. To mint a token, please create your collection. So the collection itself is a contract. I can click here or I can click here, the same thing. And what you see here, it's create a collection that you need to mint into. And this is basically a contract. This is basically a contract that we're going to be creating. If you remember, on OpenSea, we did not have to create a new collection. And the reason was we weren't creating any new contracts. We were directly minting onto OpenSea's own contract. And since that is not an option here, we need to create a new contract on top of which we will create our own NFT. I'll quickly fill in the details of this. So we don't have a nothing looking thing. I dropped an abstract cover. We're going to write abstract object art as a collection name. Just a random description. And we're going to click create. And if you see here, we're going to get into it later, but it goes on to a very similar process. It asks for this. We're going to get into this later, but it is like, this is like the gas fee speed. We're going to get into this later. Right now, we're just going to do it like 4,000, but it's not necessary. Wait, yeah, 400 is cool. Wait, let me do it again. I'm not sure why it went so high, but yeah, let's ignore this for the first time because this is for the contract itself. We have a very specific storage fee for everything other than this contract. So yeah, while we're minting this, it's going to take some time. It's not similar to OpenSea because on OpenSea, what we were doing was lazy minting, in which the NFT wasn't really minting. And when it gets sold, only then it gets minted. That's why we saw instantaneous results. But right here, we're actually writing this contract on the blockchain, which is irreversible and it takes some time. So while the contract is being made, let's go to object itself and navigate around. And also, let me download the NFT if it's uploaded.
It's up. And one thing to note as well when you create a collection is you cannot change the data. So make sure you do not make any mistakes. Make sure you know exactly what you want to write, and just keep in mind that you'll never be able to change the title or the picture or anything.
Absolutely. So like everything else on the blockchain, you cannot rewrite it. You cannot get away with it. It has been done. And that's why it's fairly important on the Tezos blockchain that you are thoroughly looking into what you're doing, because every little change either do not exist, you can't do it, or it costs money, because every time you do something, it's directly doing it on chain, and that causes money. So right now we have this in process. If you go to our Temple wallet, and if you look in activity, it's not here yet. But yeah, it has started the process. As you can see, that some of the Tezos is gone, integrated in the collection. And while that is happening, let's just navigate this, the Tezos itself. So we have the featured image similar to very OpenSea right here. We have some hot collections. Uh, we have some auctions going on. We have some top sales going on. And these are sellers, recently listed, latest mints. Fairly simple to navigate through. One thing that I want to get into is statistics of platforms on Tezos. Before, like, this is also, of course, in minting process. I've downloaded the NFT itself. So hopefully this is going to be running in the background and we're going to get into these things. X, would you like to talk to us about what Hikeknut is here, what's it doing here, and what it all means?
Yeah, so as you can see, Hiketnunk is the top volume traded platform. And part of the reason for that is since Hiketnunk was the first Tezos platform, the contract that they had, so Hiketnunk did have a storefront contract, which was the Hiketnunk contract, where everyone minted. And to this day, people still mint on that. Even though Object is the most used, Hiketnunk is still alive and well. There are some people that still use it. And even if you don't use the Hiketnunk platform itself, there are still people that still mint on the Hiketnunk contract. One, because their collections are already on there and they want to continue that. And two, because people love Hiketnunk. And three, because the platform fee for Hiketnunk is 1%, which is very low, extremely low. I think it would have been lower. The creator of Hiketnunk, Rafael Lima, he did try to make it lower, but I think 1 is the lowest he can do. So that's quite, usually we see 2.5 on some platforms, we see 15%. So 1 is probably the lowest out there at the moment, most likely. So that's why Hiketnunk is still the most volume traded, because you can actually buy Hiketnunk NFTs on Object as well. So Hiketnunk is there up at the top. We got Object obviously in second place. Calamint is another one we didn't touch on, but it's a more exclusive one-on-one platform where you can find one-on-one Tezos NFTs. It's kind of like Super Rare, if you're familiar with Super Rare on Ethereum. We have Calamint, and then Rarible was there as well.
Yeah, so the collection is still not appearing. It takes a few minutes. I think you see here, it's still now on the Explorer. It's here, it's implemented, and
Yeah, it says applied, so I think
yeah.
it's just going to show up soon.
Yeah. Also, I want to touch upon why Hikeknut itself is not the biggest platform, even though its volume is so high. Even if you look at all time, you can see that Hikeknut is actually more than 10 times or 8 times or 7 times bigger than Object itself. The first reason is Hikeknut kind of doesn't exist because it was a platform that was shut down in the middle due to some internal conflicts. And this is the website that is now functional again. But if you look into it, this is a very bad interface to work around. Like, I don't know what's happening. This is the front page where random NFTs are showing up. I don't know what HDAO is. I, of course, know, but a normal person wouldn't know what HDAO itself is. What is GLB? Nobody knows. So you see this, it's a very hard platform to operate around. And the founders of this were kind of like geniuses, but also they were very specific in what they wanted to do. And people wanted an easy platform. And that is what gave birth to Object itself. But since it's a decentralized thing, a lot of the mints on Hikeknuk is now traded on Object itself because people like to use Hikeknuk since it's the first platform and they have been using it, but then they just use it to mint and then they do everything on Object about Hikeknuk since it imports the things, the mints that are there. And that is why when we look here into these things, we can see that Object claims to be the biggest marketplaces. But if you see the transaction, it's still, if you look at the hot collections, that it's definitely Hikeknuk that is on top here. And also through the charts, you can see that Hikeknuk itself is a lot of in power. And that is also why people have stopped using it, went to Object, but also are present here. Let's check our collection once more. It's still not here. Yeah, still not here. Can we see your artwork on object? Yes. So I'm gonna also give you a real life example. This is XP's collection itself on object. But if you click into it, this is his series called 365, where he makes 365 years and days, 1 year things on in going on in his life. So we're on day 21. So if you click on any of these things, you'd see that its collection is Hikiknuk, since XP has been using Hikiknuk itself, but it's on object and it's better to navigate through it. So he also uses Hikiknuk itself. Since my collection is recently new, I used object itself to mint and do everything. So if you go to collections, it shows the collection itself. This was the one that I actually launched yesterday. And yeah, it's listed like this. It's a prettier platform. I really like using it. So yeah, this is this is us. This is what we're doing on Tezos stuff. Let's again look into the thing. And this is not like a delay thing. Every time when you use a platform that directly creates something on chain, it takes this much amount. You can see that it's here. And hopefully we would be able to go to create and be able to choose the collection here. So the interface has changed, as you can see. Now we have on token, we can actually choose the collection itself. I'm going to drag down the item that we worked on. This is the item. Let's name it.
I can still see the toes, by the way.
And the other things are fairly similar to OpenSea. We have all rights reserved. We are minting 2 editions, and we're going to set royalties to 5%. Royalties basically mean that if someone resells it, 5% of that of the price that it sells for comes into our wallet, the wallet that we're minting with. So it's like a secondary thing, retail thing. We click here on mint, and it's uploading to Ipfs. We're gonna get into this once we're done with this thing, because this is a very important term that we need to look into.
Yeah, so just briefly, IPFS is the Interplanetary File System. It's a very fancy, weird name, but by storing it on IPFS, you kind of protect the NFT, the visual part of the NFT, almost forever, right? Because it works very similar to the blockchain in terms of how it kind of stores the image. So that's one of the big benefits of object as well, is that when you mint an object, it kind of puts it onto the IPFS. You actually get access to the IPFS link as well, so you can see it's there, it's safe, and your NFT will hopefully live on forever thanks to it.
Absolutely. So one thing to really look into when you're doing stuff on Tezos is adjust storage limit. This actually works more of a gas fee, but it's different than that. Storage limit is basically how much storage limit do you get onto the chain. So you have to make this more than 300. Like anything above 400 is fine. So I'm gonna do 500. As you can see, the storage fee kind of change here, but this makes the transactions go faster. And it also ensures that your transactions do not fail. I mentioned this in the PDF as well, that you need to adjust this to more than 500. And this is the main thing to do apart from creating collections. You always have to choose something more than 500, 400. Okay, so this is gone, and now we're gonna touch into one of the great messages from YH. For artists looking to reach out more users to sell quickly, why choose Object instead of OpenSea? So let's get into that. And for that, let's go to my collection, because it's a very good visibility thing that you can look into it and you'd see directly. So I minted this yesterday, and this kind of sold out in a few hours. Most of it was obtained by people I actually knew in real life. I posted it there, and everyone said that they wanted one, and this sold out fairly quickly. The price was 3.65 Tez, which would translate into $10 to $12 per image. And I really like this collection. It's heartfelt. I worked hard on this, and I uploaded this here, and it sold out in a few hours. But if you look into my collection on OpenSea, you'd see that something fairly interesting happened there. And one of the reasons why object itself and what was that?
I think you just broke OpenSea.
OpenSea is always faulty, but yeah. So if you look into my collection on OpenSea, I think this is a fairly cool collection. I really like it. It's one of ones. It's collage art, so I kind of mix different art styles to create something together. And these things that I think of, it's fairly abstract doing all of those things. But if you look into the activity channel of this, you'd notice something really cool. If I minted 7 months ago, and you can see that these things started selling 6 months, 4 months, everything was going pretty well. XP bought one, Lisa bought one, Cryptic Lilac bought one, and other friends and people who weren't even friends, they bought it. But 4 months back, people stopped buying stuff. And one of the great reasons for that is I was minting as 0.03 and 0.05, which is in ETH, it's not too much, but it's still more than the most transaction fees that goes on to OpenSea. So what's happening here that people come into this collection and people would look at $80, and when they click buy now, they'd have to pay 150 or more than 80 for the transaction. That means that they're going to be paying more in transaction than the actual price of the NFT itself, which psychologically is not a good look. So if you can see that, these things stop working and now I have to reprice them, or either I have to, get over this, I have to use another platform. Maybe I use Foundation, maybe I try differently. But you can see that this started happening. And my goal initially as an artist was not to be rich, but to have more collectors. But here you can see that even pricing them at a point, it didn't actually work. And that is where object comes in, because it's fairly cheaper. People can pay $12 for these things and not lose a lot of money in transactions. And that is why, you can see that it sold out so quickly. And yeah, X, if you'd like to expand on this.
Yeah, and one thing to note as well is me and Han City were a bit particular. That's why we mint one of ones. So $10 doesn't sound like a lot, but what's very common with Tezos is because it's a lot easier to get sales. Like it is a lot easier, like Han City explained, because of gas fees are almost nothing. They're affordable. You can find great art there for affordable prices. People just love collecting on there. One thing that's great is people sometimes like there's a lot less speculation sometimes as well. There's people that are collecting just because they love your work and they don't really care about the price as much. They just want to collect it because they like it. And even though me and Hansi were a bit particular and we do one-on-ones, what's very common on Object and Tezos is to do edition of 100. So you mint one NFT, you make 100 editions, maybe even 1,000 editions. Some people have done that as well. And if you sell that for $10 each, and you'll get that kind of people selling. If you sell 1,000 editions at $10 each, now it adds up to quite a bit of money, right? And then if you do that with quite a few NFTs, then you can start seeing that, yes, this becomes quite a decent income that's coming in, which is very possible with Tezos and is not as possible with Ethereum. If you did that on Ethereum, you did 1,000 editions, unless you're some big influencer, it'd be very hard to get people to buy that because of the gas fees and the kind of price of Ethereum. So
Yeah.
that's something to know as well. Editions work very well on Tezos.
Absolutely. So Eric has a question. He says, so the gas fee is the reason why artists choose object over OpenSea. And I'd say yes. So if you look into a common person buying art on Ethereum, you'd see that they look into it as more as an investment rather than something for the sake of collecting art. And the reason for that is that the gas fee is so high that if someone is paying $150 in transaction, they'd like to see it as an investment rather than just collecting something they really like. And that is the reason why people on Ethereum not only just buy everything that they like, but they buy something that they think internally would give them a return on price. So I showed you my collection on OpenSea. Like initially, people were thinking, okay, we're going to buy this because this is pretty. We're going to buy this because this resonates with me. But now if someone wants to buy this, they think, okay, this looks pretty. I like it. But is this person going to make me money in the future? If that answer is yes, based on their ideas, then even if they find it pretty, they wouldn't buy it. But on Tezos, since it's so cheap, they don't mind paying something like they don't mind paying money for something that they really like, because even if they do not resell it, it's cool because they're not spending hundreds of dollars and just acquiring it, and they can acquire it for something cheaper than Ethereum itself. And there's kind of a divide. That is why people move to Tezos, because they want to collect beautiful art. I go to Tezos. I'm not a big collector, but I also like collecting stuff. So when I go to Tezos, I kind of buy stuff, because it's cheap, and I don't look into it as an investment. I don't look that stuff for me to become rich off of. But on Ethereum, since it's so expensive and everything goes up, the artists, like people beginning at the start, like I was beginning at the start, it's not a very friendly platform for myself, because people, I would feel like maybe this is not selling because my art is bad. Maybe people do not choose this because I suck at art. This can be something in my head, but in reality, even if people like it, they wouldn't pay enough money for it. They wouldn't buy it unless they know that I'm going to make them money through my profile. And that's why Object is so good for newer artists, because people do not mind supporting and buying stuff that they really like, instead of speculating if this thing would make them money or not, which is one of the very big reason why people use both.
And that's not to say there isn't like an investment side to it as well. Depending on which artist you buy, you definitely can make good money as an investment as well. Like if you bought the X copy piece for 5 Tezos, it's selling for like thousands of Tezos or something now. So instantly. And then what I like to do, like this is speculation obviously, but what I like to do is compare it to super rare. So when super rare first came about, like 3 or 4 years ago now, people were buying art there because they liked art. And back then Ethereum was much, much cheaper. So people were buying art for $30, $10, $20, $30, whatever it was. And these artists in those 3 to 4 years went on to become some of the biggest artists around. So now suddenly those pieces that they bought for $30, suddenly they're worth $100,000 now, because the artist has continued to make work and has become big. And obviously this is speculation here, but I think right now is a great opportunity in terms of like if you can find decent artists that are up and coming and you buy their early pieces, maybe sometime in the future that becomes something that's worth a bit more. Hansi, before we think, do you want to show the selling part? And
Yeah, I want to, and it's still loading, so we're waiting for it. One thing that I would show you right now is you can see that this piece is here, and if you see here in properties, you'd know that there are 20 editions of this. We are talking about editions itself, and there's an IPFS link right here, so you can click there and directly know what's uploaded, because NFTs are basically tokens, and they can go anywhere, and they're basically linking to a link. So IPFS is a permanent thing, and it's next to having something on the internet forever, and that kind of make this fully decentralized, fully unique. So it's right here, the IPFS link. You click here, listings. There are 20 versions of it, and people have bought it, and now they have listed it for different amounts of money, like you can see here. You can click down. There are offers that people want to buy this for a lot. So I'm thinking maybe the artist behind this has blown up already, because 180 Tezos offer is not common. If someone is offering it for this much and people are listing it for this much, this artist itself, themselves might be, these collection might be, somewhat of popular. You can see all the floor
The volume
prices has gone a lot higher. So this
volume
happens
traded
on
is
Tezos stuff.
81,000 Tezos volume traded. So there is activity. Like you just have to find these gems. Like I'm sure Hansi, you're not familiar with this person. I'm not, but it exists. It's there. Like it's happening somewhere in the corner of object, which is kind of fascinating as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Friends, finally, this has been minted and it shows here now. So again, it's you might think this is like fairly slow, but if you actually mint on Ethereum, you'd see that this is still faster than Ethereum itself if it's not a short thing. May I understand why people would like to collect a PNG or JPEG when it is not an investment? Uh, if I like art in my own preference, I'd rather prefer art that is physical with different painting techniques. So that's a pretty dope. That's a pretty dope point. But there are a few advantages of collecting digitally. One is you have access to artists from all around the world. It's not limited to your physical capacity, so you can actually collect from people around the world. The second thing is, in some cases, it's fairly cheaper. In physical thing, you got to go there, you got to buy it from an actual person, you got to frame it, you got to do all of those things. And right now, you can have it in your own place. There's also one notion is that where right now we're meeting online, a lot of us spend 8 to 10 hours online. We don't really visit each other's houses a lot, especially after COVID. So it makes a lot of sense to own something virtually, digitally, because we're kind of sitting digitally nowadays. So having a digital gallery actually lets you show off your collection or talk about your collection to everyone around the world. So you can use all of those things, and also there are a few devices that actually connects your digital NFT to a physical piece. So it's like more like a screen that you put at your house, and you can actually load an NFT onto it, and it's gonna be physical from a digital frame. So we're working on that as well. And one of our pieces, like real quick, so one of our pieces called there's this piece that we created, which was a coordination between 24 artists from around the world. This is the piece. XP worked on it, Cryptic Lilac worked on it, and if you click here, view it live, this is the NFT itself. And so Async Art is the platform. It's on Ethereum, and Async Art has actually coordinated with Mural, that these people, wonderful company. And what Mural does is that they provide frames that digitally puts the NFT there, and it's kind of like a physical thing. So it's a changeable art piece. You can have the frame, and the NFT would be there like an actual painting, like an actual picture. So it changes what you can do. You own a digital thing that you can show off digitally as well as physically. So it changes how you operate with art itself. And yeah, that's the reason. Also, there's something called changeable art. So you cannot get changeable art in physical spaces, but thanks to the blockchain, this NFT actually changes every single hour. So you can't have that physically, but if someone buy this and have a mural on their house, they're gonna have a frame that changes every single hour, which is pretty dope. So these are all the possibilities that can actually happen on chain digitally. You can have programmable art. One last platform that I want to touch upon real quick before we move on to the quiz is FX Hash. So FX Hash is a platform on Tezos, and what FX Hash does is that it's basically programming. So these are things that are a program, and when you click on Mint, it actually runs through a program, and it virtualizes and randomizes the art pieces. Like this is not the only art piece. If I click here, it's gonna actually start running through programs, and it can give me abstract new art that would be made directly when I click on this. And this cannot happen in physical art. So the possibilities is using technology to create art that was not possible before, and making the best of both worlds. And that's why online and digital art is so different from actual art. So is this async mural compatible to all NFTs? This is compatible to all NFTs on Async Art, which is an Ethereum platform. But Mural is working with other platforms as well. So hopefully in the future, I see a future where there's this frame which supports like 20 of the top marketplaces in the world and can showcase all the NFTs in these 20 marketplaces.
There,
This is what I
there are
envision.
there are other companies as well that kind of support all NFTs. There's tons out there. If you just Google it, I think Infinity is one, like Black Box Art. There's quite a few. So yeah, you can just buy one of those thingies. Are you going to show
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
selling
So while you set up the
Kahoot?
Kahoot, I'm going to show the final thing that is selling while you can set up the Kahoot and we can directly get into the quiz. Today's quiz would be a little bit more difficult. We thought let's make it a little difficult and see how you guys do. So we have this object or NFT that is our asset. And in order to list it, we're going to go to actions and you can see a bunch of things here. The first thing is listing additions. As you know, we have 2 additions. So I'm going to click on, I'm going to list one for 10 Tezos. And we have offer. If you see any NFT here on object, you can actually go there and you can offer them. So this is showing it like a normal thing, but you can actually do it on other stuff. If I go to this, I can go to actions and I can offer them. Yeah, this is the offer thing, so I can just place a bid here. So I can send this directly to a wallet. If I click here, it's gonna ask for the addition, and I'm gonna click this here, and then it's gonna send, and I can burn this. If I click to here and I burn this, it would disappear from the blockchain. It's gonna go to the burn address, and I can also start auctions. So if I click here, there are a bunch of options here as well. Highest bid, price drop. I can either start from the top and it's gonna reduce, or I can move it from here to the top. So a bunch of really cool options. We're just simply gonna list it right now, and hopefully we would be able to see it. Maybe not, but yeah, it's a very similar process. You click here, you go to your storage max feeds. It's gonna be the same. You click confirm, and it's gonna start working on listing this. And yeah, I think that's all that we needed to cover from here. One last thing that I want to showcase before we move on to the quiz real quick is Rarible. Rarible is an ETH first platform that was working on ETH, and now they have integrated both Tezos and Ethereum in its chain. This is the first biggest marketplace to do so. So the future is multi-chain. One marketplace would have NFTs from a bunch of blockchains, and you can navigate through around. And that is what we're going to be seeing together. Like it's ETH, like you can see the ETH sign here, you can see the flow sign here, you can see the Tezos sign here. So blockchains would just become a description rather than something that is more than that. So we're already seeing the future here through Rarible and through other platforms, maybe OpenSea together, and we're gonna see it there too. So that's all for Tezos. X, are we ready for the quiz?
Yep. If I just share my screen. So
Okay, cool.
oh, this is something I had opened that I wanted to show very quickly as well. With Tezos, it's actually quite diverse what you can do with the technology itself. You can just, it's not just about minting JPEGs. You can mint interesting kind of technology as well on it. So what you see here is the final piece of this artwork made by Jag Racer, which I love. This is something I collected a while back. Now it just looks like a nice abstract piece, but if you actually click on any one of these are actually all users and the date that they joined Hicketnunk. So all of these are all the users that have joined Hicketnunk for a certain time period. You can actually go into any one of these. And this blue circle here is, if I can get to it. Okay, it's very sensitive. I can't get to it, but that's actually me. Yeah, there you go. So XP, that's me, and that's when I joined. And this is actually the final piece. But if I refresh it, this is what happens when you first go into it. you kind of see the users coming in and you see the date on the top and the kind of users coming in. This is one NFT that's made on Tezos. So the possibilities are crazy. Like even now I can live kind of see people coming in and see who it is. Anyway, that's something interesting that I always like showing people whenever showing Tezos stuff. I'm going to start the Cahoots now. Hopefully you can hear the audio as well.
Yes, we can hear the audio. Yeah.
Perfect.